like this far.
Okay.
Nice and intimate. So hey guys, here we are, day 2, M&R booth. We are celebrating 40 years M&R. I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves, and we'll get into why you're here.
I'm Adam Golder from TShirt Sons, textile printer based out in the UK, doing predominantly DTG work, but also DTF, traditionally screen print. Been coming to ISS for 12 years. A lot of my customers are based in the US brands.
Really?
So, yeah, I'm here every year for my sins. But yeah, that's me.
Why US brands and you're in the UK?
So we were an early adopter of POD 12 years ago, and we were approached back then with the early stages of web shops. There were some US brands that were printing in the US and shipping to consumers locally in the UK and Europe, and wanted localized production. And in brief, 10 years, we're the largest of what we do in the UK and Europe. Facility based in the UK.
Right.
And in mainland Europe as well, in the Netherlands, and it's speed to market.
Yeah.
It's the Amazon model. You buy something online, but it doesn't exist until I get that order live on the fly.
So you got a really awesome niche market then from handling their things.
Yeah, it's the speed to market thing. You buy something online, you expect it's just being picked off a shelf. And the US brands are ahead of the UK and Europe. So
how'd you get involved with Sean over here?
So actually, we've been an M&R customer going back to screen print days. We're a 35-year-old business, traditionally screen print, but now
35 years M&R.
Not specifically M&R, but we rekindled the relationship last year.
September.
Yes,
September 24.
So actually, I think the early conversations.
No, September 23. My apologies.
Yeah, was September 23. Because we were looking for expansion of our DTG machinery park. We have some other brands, but we invested 2 M&R Polarises, which were installed September 23.
The end of September 23.
Yeah, so we're kind of 18 months really into it.
Well, that being said, how are you feeling about having multiple versions of that unit? Because you have a Corny and the M&R Polarises?
Yeah. So for a decade we were a Cornet print shop. Not that we were married to Cornet by any means, but it worked for us in terms of a one-stop shop in terms of pre-treat and print. Yeah. And also we built our proprietary software around that product workflow. However, as the technologies and other manufacturers have caught up to Cornet, there's something for everyone. So if a customer of mine wants to choose a different machine that we have because they feel it gives a better print or a better quality or whatever it is, and they've got volume, then we'll entertain that. Right. So we took a leap of faith. We're super confident with obviously the history of M&R, and the chassis of the machines are kind of rock solid.
Tanks.
Yeah, totally bulletproof. Yeah. And yeah, it's been a great relationship. The machine's slightly different to get used to, but now we're fully up to speed. We've gone through 2 peak seasons, and they work beautifully.
You have 1 or 2?
2.
Damn.
So they're actually one of the few customers that bought 2 at once. So both were commissioned. It was actually a little funny story, but before I carry on, let me introduce myself. I'm Sean Marrison, the International Sales VP, and I've now taken over the mantle of marketing at M&R. I've been a dealer in South Africa since '92, and Danny and Dave Blake reached out to me and said, would I consider coming to live in the US and join the executive team? So that happened late 22, and our journey started probably June, July the following year, TShirt Sons. I'd heard of them. They've got an incredible facility in the southwest of England in a place called Bath, or as Americans would say, Bath. I've actually got a little funny story about it. I don't know if I've told you. So one of the board of directors meeting, I was dialing in on Teams, and Danny had all the people lined up, and I was sitting on my bed because the hotel room was so small, and my daughter, who lives in London, was going to come visit me in Bath the following day with her boyfriend. And she told me a funny story that her boyfriend had told their friends they were supposed to watch rugby that Saturday. Where are you going to be? He said, no, I'm going to Bath with my girlfriend's father.
Right.
And that just didn't come out the way he intended it. So I almost bought a little ducks to put in the bath. Anyway.
So you guys have a nice bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an awesome town. And the village that they're in is about 30 minutes outside of Bath. Is a beautiful, relaxing environment. You know, they've got a very creative space. It is a very impressive company. They've got a well-deserved reputation with not only in the UK, but throughout Europe. And I think maybe you can tell them how that reputation extended to TShirt Sons selling onto PF Concepts.
Okay, I can't remember where we were at. So the business exponentially grew through POD, and we're the original founders. I'm one of the original 4 directors of the business, and there were 4 of us. We're looking to two of my colleagues were looking to exit the business, so we, in brief, put the business up for sale, so those guys could exit. They had enough of the 35 years, and we were looking for a partner or a new owner for the business, and we were bought by PCNA, Polyconcept North America, who they acquired us in March 2021, and they were looking for speed to market. POD they'd heard about. They're a bulk manufacturer in promo business. COVID hit, so it kind of tanked that industry. The promo had softened off. With the best years we'd ever had as a business, because we were servicing e-com. Everybody was at home on furlough.
You were set up for it.
Yeah, so we couldn't get enough people, enough machines. It was like Black Friday for 10 months.
Right. Do you think with that sale and with, I guess, where you guys are trying to go and with the fulfillment or the direct to the market kind of stuff, that you really have to dive deep into this, the Polaris and all that kind of stuff? Like, are you cranking on those all the time?
Yeah, so, I mean...
Like, is that the direction you're going in more so?
It's interesting, actually. So PCNA are a hard goods... they have their own products. They have a huge catalogue, and one of the contributing factors for them to look to acquire a business like ours was we have our own proprietary technology that runs our facilities. So you either build it, if you want to get into our space, you either got to build it or buy it off the shelf. And when we started, it didn't exist.
I feel like most companies I talk to that are of that scale always have to build their own. Like, there's no like.
And most of us in our space, well, most of us are control freaks. I don't want somebody else who has the keys to my car. It's just, if it's going to go wrong, we need to look internally to fix that. So that's kind of where it went. But the relationship with PCNA was obviously to weaponize their own products, but at MOQ1. So we've got a core apparel business, but actually part of the acquisition or the strategy is to actually light up more of their own products, so we could do MOQ1 on obviously drinkware and hard goods, power banks, all sorts of stuff. So doing different decoration techniques to support our existing apparel business.
So Sean, what are you trying to get them into going forward? What's next?
Well, the journey of implementing 2 Polarises was quite a different learning curve, not only for TShirt Sons, but for us servicing people over the pond, as they say. That brought its own reorganization of how we would service, maintain, and train. The important, I think, emphasis there was on training and making that sort of tribal knowledge that we are so accustomed to in the US transferable over into the UK. So I would imagine that their growth will continue in the digital space, and explore our offerings. The Polaris, after all, is a modular system. We have the S4 digital pre-treat unit, which has gone off incredibly well, and that will then plug into the existing. They'll remove their analog pre-treat system and bring that in. So I would expect very soon they would upgrade the 2 Polarises and then look at our new technologies that are coming out. If not a 3rd Polaris. They've got a base in the UK, but they've also got in Netherlands, part of their sister companies in the Netherlands, and that's probably where the growth will occur next on the digital side. So it's both in Netherlands and in Poland.
What do you want to see next?
It's tricky, really. So we're always looking for what's new on the market.
Yeah.
And for me in my business right now, there isn't much new, like excitingly new. So it's building on where we're at. The marketplace, the industry is quite confused in terms of customers.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite tricky. And here, like, I talk to printers from all over the world. So in terms of new technology, for me, there's nothing that's a game changer out there. It's cementing our existing.
You more want to dial in what you have and get your pro in that area.
Yeah, and as Sean says, we have a European footprint, which is again based on speed to market. So being in Europe means we can get to our customers a day or two quicker than from the UK. And that's a huge market. There are more people in Europe than there are in the States. So it's a massively growing marketplace.
I would say, kind of closing, I know we talked about you're getting comfortable with all that, but is there anything that you want to see going forward? Like, do you want more screen printing, or do you want more digital, or what is your personal happy place?
So we've completely shut down screen print.
None.
So ironically, we're making more money printing one T-shirt than 10,000 in a linear fashion.
So you just dropped it. You're like, this is what I'm doing.
We went probably 4 years of doing screen print just for the sake of doing screen print, and I really used it as a bit of a marketing department for our POD to tell people that we're not a couple of kids in a garage hitting a green button.
Right.
We've got heritage. We understand color, fabric, all that stuff.
So you dove deep.
So absolutely. So we're a client retention business. So we're in the screen print world. There are lots of screen printers, and everybody's fighting over 5 cents.
Yep.
In POD, it's less saturated, although it's getting more competition. But when you're dealing with basically end consumers, so we're a B2B to C, the trust of our clients being able to deliver on their behalf to a consumer, when everything is about Trustpilot reviews, online, viral. If it goes wrong, it's bad for their entire business.
Yeah.
So it's a way heightened QC setup that we have now. And client retention is almost more important than having boots on the ground salespeople going out looking for work.
Yeah. So the cool thing is with it being such a new technology that kind of is always evolving, you need a good partner like Sean or M&R to kind of be there with you in your back pocket. Like, hey, let's do this together. You can't just drop it. A screen printing press is basically the same-ish kind of thing it's been for a long time. Now you're in a technology that's constantly evolving. Are you on the horn all the time?
We are, and we learned early on because we're basically servicing retail.
Right.
And there's a thing called Christmas every year, and it gets really busy. We actually, as much as we rely on our partners like Sean and M&R, we have to be fairly self-sufficient. So we can't just wait for a tech to turn up. We need to be able to fix the problems. Because Christmas, you get no second chances.
The hope is you don't have that many problems.
That's absolutely, and that's one of the reasons behind M&R and
they really like a challenge. They took this on right before peak, 2 machines at once. Had to convert everybody's mindset from single units into industrial rotating behemoths compared to what they previously used. So that was a quick scramble, right?
Yeah. I mean, and also 2 machines. Historically, we never buy one because if it breaks,
we literally just had this conversation before where it's just the redundancy, the NASA mindset of having 2 of everything. Yeah,
it's go big if you can, because
that's pretty damn big.
And then you know what? You need to fill a machine. So rather than having one that potentially breaks, I look at it. Let's have 2 and let's get them filled up.
Well, they're going to fill now that's basically your only mode of making things. So.
Yeah, so it's
you probably care to forget that the beginning journey where we had one sea freighted and one air freighted because they wanted to get going ASAP. The sea freight got there before the air freight. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's.
Well, he bought a speedboat as well. He didn't tell you that.
That's the challenges we live in, and it's
So you can write it off if it's for the business to put it on your speedboat to get it over there because now it's
absolutely
it's for shipping.
Yeah, so we're like many of my peers in this show, is we're kind of entrepreneurial control freaks, but we're very optimistic. So, and once you've built something, we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So depending on what the industry is. If it's soft in your existing customer base, you need to diversify and look at different industry sectors who are not doing what we do, and why POD is a risk-free opportunity for any business. The risk is on us, I guess, as suppliers. But that's kind of the push, and that's where we found our not a niche, but it's like we're successful at what we do, and we want to build it.
Awesome.
And now that just one more question. Now that the dust is settled and you got your rhythm, what does the Polaris mean to you guys? What does it bring to you? What is it? The quality, the speed,
well, all of it. I mean, the biggest challenge obviously we have is in the traditional textile industry and screen print world. There's a cost. There's a cost of goods, and a retailer is expecting that same cost of goods and same margin, but on a POD model, which is challenging. So the only way of getting close on that is speed. So your machine brings speed, and the quality is exceptional. There's no question about that. And when you're dealing with bigger brands and bigger retailers, the POD and M&R Polaris machine is giving confidence to those retailers, which POD 10 years ago was not.
Yeah, and the confidence is what you need, because once they feel comfortable, they'll just keep sending.
Yeah, completely. Then they kind of leave you alone.
Right.
I just tell, you market your business.
Right. Just let us handle the printing. It'll be good.
Yeah. So
cool.
That's the dream.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, thanks for sitting down with us, Adam. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, guys.